Hey, what is up guys? Today we're going to be talking about the Feiyutech Gimbal Scorp C model. This thing roughly runs for $270 to $80 as of making this video, and it's definitely on the lower price in terms of the amount of features it has to offer versus the price. So in order to start using this gimbal, you do have to understand how the controls work. So the first thing to cover is the joystick, and this is if you want to manually control the directions of where the camera is being pointed. You can go up, down, left, right, or diagonally in any direction. The next button to cover is the M button, which stands for mode. When you press this, you toggle between the three different modes, and basically it toggles between pan, tilt, and roll. Tilt means you're going up and down. Panning means you're going left to right. And roll moves the camera diagonally, kind of like how a tire or a wheel would roll. So how does the mode feature actually work? If all of the lights are off, the gimbal is always going to be pointing in one direction, and it's not going to move anywhere, even if you move your body or rotate the gimbal itself. Now, if the mode lights are lit up, the camera is going to be pointing in the direction that the gimbal is pointed. So if you move the gimbal to the left, the camera will point to the left. If you move it to the right, it'll point to the right. And same with up and down or rolling. And that's what happens when the mode lights are turned on. Now the next button to cover is the trigger button, which is located on the front of the gimbal, and this is going to be the one you'll be using the most frequently. So the way to use the trigger button is if you hold it, the pan and tilt mode are going to be locked on. So basically what that means is when you're holding the trigger, the camera is going to point wherever you're pointing the gimbal. And if you're not using the trigger button and all of the mode lights are turned off, the camera is always going to be pointing in one direction no matter where you point the gimbal. Now something cool you can do with this gimbal is make it auto rotate unlimitedly, and the way you do that is you press the A button at the bottom, and that stands for auto rotate. Once it's in auto rotate mode, it's going to flip the camera lens pointing upwards, and then you press the L or R button. Every time you press the L or R button, adjust the speed at how fast it rotates, and there's fast, medium, and slow. And the way you stop auto rotating mode is you press the A button again, or you double click the trigger to reset all of the access points. Now this next feature is one of my favorite ones, and that is the wheel / knob on the front of the gimbal. When using the knob, it's going to rotate the camera based on which mode you have selected. You can pan to the left and right, you can tilt it up and down, or you can roll it just by using the knob. And the way you toggle between the different modes that the knob rotates in is by pressing the button next to it, and as you press it, it toggles between the three different modes. The gimbal can also record in portrait mode, which if you're a TikToker or YouTube Shorts, Instagram filmmaker, then you can use portrait mode by double tapping the portrait mode button and the camera will rotate. And then you can go ahead and use the gimbal just like you would in landscape mode. Same exact features, just have to activate it into the different mode. So I've been using this gimbal for about a week now, and I do have a few tips and tricks for you guys. One of them is when you're actually running around with the gimbal, make sure you try to do the ninja walk where you bend your knees a lot, and that's going to help create smoother footage, because if you're walking around with stiff knees, you're going to really see the shakiness in the video. So kind of get in the habit of doing that. That way all of your footage is a lot more smoother and you're putting less pressure on the gimbal itself. Another tip I have isn't really a filming trick, but it's kind of just for your endurance. This thing does get you tired if you're doing a long shoot, and something I would recommend is using the built-in legs as often as you can when you're not using it. I didn't notice these legs built into the gimbal because it came with the mini tripod in the box, and I thought that's how you stand it up. But if you actually look on the gimbal, there are some extendable legs, and you can quickly plop down the gimbal and just let it rest as you're recovering, or as you're thinking of your next shot. And then another tip is when the gimbal is resting on its legs, you can put it in standby mode rather than powering off the whole thing. And the way you do that is you just double click the power button and the gimbal will go into standby mode. So if this video was helpful for you and you're seriously considering getting this gimbal, I would really appreciate it if you used my link down in the description below. I get a little kickback if you use my link at no additional cost for you. So with that being said, if you liked the video, please like it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.